And so my daddy's decided, and I don't remember just exactly how that all took place, but anyway, he said, well, I'm going to go up and talk to him about it. And so he went up to the school, and I guess he was directed onto the school board. And so he went to the school board, and he said, well, look, this boy's been playing a pretty high caliber grade of basketball up in the state of Connecticut, and I think he could run a program for you. And so I guess he outlined to him what he meant. And so I guess they gave it some thought, and I don't know the exact time frame to when they came back and said, okay, I guess they went and talked to the superintendent, and they said, okay, well, we're going to allow you to try to organize a season.
A basketball program.
Right.
From a school that never had any program for any sport.
That's right. And so they gave me a budget, and I guess they asked me questions about that. I said, well, how many guys are going to come out? We need uniforms for them all, and we'll need some basketballs.
And, of course, there was no gym. This is no gym.
No, they had no gymnasium. And so we were going to play all of our home games on a dirt court, which was actually a tennis court. The tennis court was there, and so all we had to do was take down the post and then put the outline of the court on the dirt. And
then you're coming into this, and you're a Yankee, a Connecticut Yankee.
Yeah, well, that's the way they perceived me. Even though while I lived in Connecticut, I was a damn rebel, right? Because I came out of my background for my voice was from Missouri. Yes. So it was really a Midwestern accent. Because I hadn't been in New York long enough to pick up that accent.
New York accent.
Because I went to school in New York for a year and a half, my freshman year and half of my sophomore year, and then came up to Connecticut.
And so here you're there, and you're this kid from the north, and then you're telling them that you're going to have a basketball program. Would they like to help?
Oh yeah, well the kids were just excited about it. I mean, the boys really thought that was a great idea. So I wrote schools of the same size and was able to get a 16-game schedule scheduled.
And every team you played had a gym and had a coach.
Yes.
And you're the only school on the schedule that had no basketball gym.
Right.
Playing outdoor.
Right.
And you had 8 away games and 8 home games.
Right.
And of those 8 home games, sometimes it gets cold in Richmond Hill. The name of this town is Richmond Hill.
Yes.
Sometimes it gets cold in Richmond Hill in January.
Well,
it worked out.
We worked out. We had good weather. We never had to cancel because of rain or anything like that.
Okay, so when you were there and you were this new guy in school and somehow pulled off things to get a basketball program running, you're thinking of ways to make guys better basketball players, right?
Well, you just go by what you know.
And then you're up from Yankee Land, and you pass by and you see there's this colored school. That's what they would call it then. Now we say black to be politically correct. But anyway, there was this colored school that you passed by to go to school every day, and they had a gym and they had a coach.
Right.
And so you said what to yourself?
Well, I thought we ought to be able to go down and scrimmage them. And I felt the other boys on the team would learn a lot from scrimmaging against regular competition.
Who had a coach?
Yes. And so we worked at it. We got together.
You called the coach over there?
Yeah, I went by the school and asked the coach if he'd be interested in scrimmaging the high school up at Richmond Hill.
Now, this is hardcore segregation, legal segregation south.
Yes, sir.
And it never occurred to you that this might braid the raft out on you.
No, I didn't, because up here in Connecticut, I had colored teammates. And so I wasn't even thinking about things like that. And so we went down and scrimmaged them.
Now, how were you treated by them?
Well, we're just a bunch of kids, you know.
Everybody was friendly?
Oh,
cordial?
yeah. No, we had no.
Had a good scrimmage?
Yeah, we had a good long scrimmage. And then after that was over, we went back to the next day at the school for scrimmage, practice among ourselves. And somebody said something about it, and the first thing I know, I'm getting a call from the president of the school board, and he wanted to know, would we go down there and play ball against the colored team? And I said, yeah, I thought that was a good experience for us. And he said, well, you don't do that.
Now, how did you hear that the Klan was interested in that activity?
I did not hear that, Gary.
You didn't hear that?
No. The school just told me, you don't do that, and you don't do it again. And maybe to the point that I might have felt like, well, they were warning me that if I did it again, it was going to be dire consequences.
Yes.
And so we didn't do that again.
Yeah, but at the same time, your experience with black has always been positive, and you had black teammates, and you ran for president of Boise State, the governor of Boise State, and you got beat by a black boy by 2 votes.
Right.
And you really never thought anything bad about any of that experience.
No.
And so here you come to Georgia. You're this Connecticut Yankee, not in King Arthur's Court, but in Richmond Hill, Georgia, playing in basketball, and you go out. And so then you started out by practicing. And when did guys start practicing together to do?
Well, the minute they said we could have a team.
So in other words, while everybody else was playing football around, you guys were getting together working on basketball.
I don't have any idea about the football.
the real game was basketball. Okay, and then so you then teach guys who know nothing about basketball.
Well, it was a wonderful experience from that standpoint because they wanted to play and they wanted to be good at it. And so anything I said, why they didn't argue about it. They accepted that was it. And we practiced hard, and I'd point out their mistakes and what they should be doing. And all I was doing was repeating what I know.
Okay, and then remind, this school is a school that has about what, 50?
About 40 students in the high school. There was 9 in the senior class.
Okay, and they were in boys and girls roughly 50-50.
I imagine so.
So we're looking at 20, 25 boys max.
Right.
And half of them on your basketball team.
Yeah, 10 of them were on the basketball team.
All right, and then so you're sitting around things to do and say, well, hell, it would be a good idea to go scrimmage a really good team. So you called up the coach, or did you call the coach up? Do you do
Yes.
this? In Savannah.
Right, Savannah High School.
And this is a school of what?
Well,
600 or 700?
Oh, at least. I don't know.
And so you show up, no coach, and you scrimmage them and play them very competitively.
Yes, he had to play his first team. He couldn't beat us with his... The way he described it to me, he said, well, when you called about it, he said, I thought it'd be a real good chance for me to give my first team a little good workout and then get a chance to evaluate my second and third team players. And so every time he'd take out his first team, well, we'd catch up immediately. And so finally he just had to win, he said, because he said if the newspapers got a hold of it, that Richmond Hill High School beat Savannah High School in a scrimmage, well, he'd be in trouble. And he told me, he said, I won't ever do this again. He said, I had no idea you guys could play basketball.
All right, so now you're there. And the whole school is turned onto this project.
Oh, absolutely.
And
every
all
school
of the families in the community were turned onto this project.
Yes.
And then you were kind of looked upon, I assume, some controversy that people were paying too much attention to basketball.
No.
No?
No.
Not at that point?
No.
And
it was so exciting for the town to have a scholastic program in sports.
So now you come up and you have your first game. Was it an away game or a home game?
Well, we played home first game.
Home first game. And this, do you remember the name of the team?
Nope.
Okay. And so,
sorry, I don't.
And so they came on, and everybody shows up around the tennis court, basketball court. Tennis court, quote, basketball court, a dirt court. Okay?
Yeah.
And how bad you beat them?
Well, it wasn't a big score. I think we probably beat them by 8 or 9 points.
And then the next game was an away game?
I think we played 2 home games first before
so the next game you did, how well did you do?
Well, we did better.
Yeah.
We were getting better as we went along.
Okay. And then when you played your first away game, how much of the town went with you?
Well, they had decided that they would take every school bus they had, and anybody that wanted to go could ride the bus. And so we actually, most of our away games, we had a bigger crowd than the home team had, because they were we were taking everybody that wanted to go. So the whole student body would go. That was just 40, so that's one bus load. And then I don't know how many buses we had, but I would remember that we probably had at least 3 and maybe 4 buses loads, and then people would go in their cars.